Among us, there are changemakers, leaders, and trailblazers who leave their mark on local communities and on the world stage, all part of Alumni UBC. And every year, our numbers grow and connections deepen. With opportunities for alumni to share meaningful ideas and tackle complex social issues, and career programs to help turn goals and aspirations into a meaningful professional life, with ways to get involved and give back, too. The Robert H. Lee Alumni Center on the Vancouver campus is our alumni home for life. And we network all around the world as well, because connection is at the heart of Alumni UBC. Another great way to stay connected is with the free Alumni UBC app. It's filled with exclusive benefits, including financial services, partner discounts, and our award-winning Trek magazine. Remember, UBC is yours, and through Alumni UBC, it always will be.
So my name is Lark Spartan. I'm the communications coordinator here at the College of Graduate Studies, and welcome to our Master Grads presentation. So this is a monthly speaker series that we're putting on in partnership with Alumni UBC, and it's really a way for current students and other alumni to sort of see the possibilities of a graduate degree and get some advice on professional development and student experience. With that, I will let Sumi take it away, and she can introduce the School of Engineering and our presenters.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sumi Siddiqa. I'm Associate Director for a graduate program from the School of Engineering. So I'm happy to be here to talk about a little bit about graduate program. We have since 2017, it was around 123 master's graduate completed degree from our program, and around 68 masters of engineering graduate completed degree from our program. So as you see, there are lots of masters graduated from our program since 2017, and they're just working in the industry, or some of them are pursuing higher studies in PhD. So very happy to welcome two of our alumni from our Masters of Engineering program. Interestingly, both of them are from electrical engineering program, so that's very interesting. So we have Ian Horseman, who graduated from Masters of Engineering, Electrical Engineering program in 2013, and then we have Khairul Alam, who recently graduated. He graduated in 2019, again in Electrical Engineering program. So we are very happy to welcome you guys, and would be happy to hear your thoughts and talks, and it would be encouraging for our current students and also for our future students in our program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So maybe Ian, you can start off and introduce yourself, your background, your professional path that kind of took you from your master's to where you are now, and then Khairul, you can follow that.
Yeah, happy to. I can tell you a little bit about my life's journey, my random walk to where I am right now. So I'm Ian Horseman, and currently I am a manager of planning and engineering at TELUS Communications. I work out of Kelowna, but I have a national team scattered around Canada who work on the introduction of new technologies and charting a roadmap for sort of how our technology will enable new products and services. And I'm a graduate, like you said, of the Master's in Engineering in Electrical Engineering from 2013. And I really wanted to learn more about wireless communications and project management at the time. So I did part-time studies from 2010 through 2013, and a lot of fun engineering work until now. We'll get more into that later.
So a little bit about me. I'm Khairul Anam. I'm from Bangladesh. I came to Canada for my Master's of Engineering program back in 2018. I graduated in 2019. And after my graduation, I joined a company here called Brewers Distribution. So I worked there for a little bit, around 3 months. After that, I joined Lantic Inc., which is, I think, known by Rogers Sugar. So I'm working there as a maintenance planner now. We have 4 plants around Canada, and Montreal is the largest plant. I think this is the largest plant of Canada, and also one of the largest refinery in the world. And I work for Vancouver refinery. I look after all the asset maintenance, maintenance planning, reliability engineering, and bits of the project for Vancouver refinery. And yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. I was hoping we could start off by talking about why you wanted to attend graduate school, why you thought that that would be beneficial towards what you wanted to do for a career, and maybe how your studies have shaped your career path, if they changed it in any way. Would any of you have thoughts on that? And either one can start off.
I'm happy to start, but yeah, it was an interesting path for me because I had moved out to British Columbia as a young engineer a couple of years after graduation, just looking to ski and have some fun, and lucked into an engineering job at TELUS and with the planning department. So for those of you that don't know what a planning department at like a telecom does, it's very much like a municipality. Is at a municipality, the planning department sort of decides like, this is where we want homes to be, this is where we want industry to be, and this is sort of where we want the main thoroughfares to be in the town. And it's sort of the same idea for a telecom network. It's like, where are the main offices? How much capacity do those need? What are the arteries in the city? How big do those need to be? And how do they deal with the city growing, right? Because they're always adding homes and building high rises, especially if you've noticed in the Lower Mainland, they like to keep going up. And both telecom and hydro have to respond to that, right? So the planning department is very much in the mix with the cities and all the movers and shakers in town, and just building out that long roadmap, whether that's pure holes in the ground and cables out to premises, or it's new technologies and new capabilities, new products, new services. So that was a really fun introduction, but it also opened my eyes to the fact that, you know, there's a lot more to know, whether that's on the technical side of wireless, or because that seemed to be one of the things we need to incorporate in our plans, or how to get things done on the project management side. And I had thought about taking certificates or courses, but in the end, like, you know, I need to take something much more substantial, and I decided to enroll in the MEng program.
All right, thank you. I think that that's a great path that you took. So maybe Khairul, you can keep on with that question.
So I graduated from my undergrad engineering school back in 2012, and then I joined British American Tobacco. It's one of the largest tobacco factory in the world. I started from production, then was promoted to maintenance. So back in, I grew up in operations. So in operations, what I found out that everything is kind of mechanical engineering or industrial engineering. And I graduated, my background was in electrical engineering. So it was kind of a different ball game for me. And I worked in that company for 5.5 years. And over the time, I understood that I have gaps in knowledge. Like since I do not have the mechanical background, so maybe I don't know much about metals or alloys. Then I do not have background in computer science, and back in our engineering school, I didn't have that exposure in data analysis. So, but in operations, you have to make data-driven decision making, and also there are bits of engineering from industrial part and also mechanical part. So I finally took my decision to have my postgraduate degree in engineering just to fill up those gaps. I thought that if I could build my knowledge in all these areas, it will help me in the long run. So that was basically the decision behind that. But I wanted to, because I worked in management mostly, so I wanted to have my MBA. But you know, for international students, it's a huge amount of money that is required for MBA. So I didn't have the financial ability that back then. So I decided, okay, I will go for my master's of engineering first, because I want to fill up those knowledge gap. And when it will be my time to have my MBA, I'll go for it. So yeah, so back in end of 2019 or middle of in 2020, I decided that I will apply for my MBA. So I applied into Sauder, and I got accepted. And I am doing my part-time MBA in Sauder as well. So that was a little bit about my decision why I wanted to have my Master's of Engineering, coming out of a professional background. And then right after that, after working 1 year into the industry, I decided to go for my MBA as well. I will talk about a little bit about that. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. It definitely was about gaps for me as well, like filling in those holes, whether it was technical or project-wise.
That's amazing. And so I'll pause for any questions right now, if there are any, and if there are any talking points on sort of that career path that both of you took.
Can I have a question here? I just curious to know, I have a question for both of you. I mean, why you choose to come to UBCO? I mean, what was the reason for picking up this school and our research and our graduate program? And the second thing, both of you were doing, you know, focusing more on the management side that I can see. You have a good technical background, but now you guys are interested on the management side. And I understand from the discussion that it was kind of a, you know, nature of the work you guys have done. Can you just a little bit elaborate? I mean, what was, you know, main reason for picking up our graduate program, and also how it was driven towards the management side rather than, you know, picking on the technical expertise?
Yeah, you gonna take that?
Oh, you want me to go first? I was going to let you go first. Okay. So I don't know, it's a bit of retrospective, right? Because now I have a team and I help support them. So it seems like a foregone conclusion. Why would he want to learn about management? Because he's managing people. But that wasn't evident at the beginning. I think it's something that, particularly in engineering, you have to do a bit of soul searching about. Do you want to lead people, or do you want to become a technical master, right? And the kind of fork in the road for me was, I found that I was good, but if I want to do much, much, much more, that I had to learn how to do that with other people, enable other people to execute on a plan. And learning more about that, whether it's project controls or different project management techniques, then that would be really helpful to doing that, and would inform my decision later on to become a people leader. So it was kind of like an exploration, but also realizing I gotta put some tools in my toolkit if that's the branch I'm gonna go down. I'm not gonna become the Uber specialist. I wanna enable more people to execute.
Yeah, so the decision for me to choose UBCO, because my sister lives in Kelowna, so that was the very first reason. I only applied to one school, and it was UBCO. And I know that I knew from my family that UBCO has a solid research program across the engineering school of engineering. So I decided to apply into UBCO just because of that. And the reason for choosing management, I mean, it was kind of like I loved operations. Over the year I worked in operations, I found that I love operations. I mean, operations is a bit different than engineering. I mean, in engineering, you kind of design, then there is this technical project management. In operations, it is more about process, people management, and also technical project management. So I found that I love that bit the most. Like I want to work on process improvements, then continuous improvement projects. I like to work in technical project management where you need your engineering skill, and also in process improvement, you need your engineering skill. So that's the reason for me to work and still staying in operations. But yeah, working in management, that kind of came just with working in operations. So it was not something that I chose. But it just came with work, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so maybe we could talk a little bit about the industry as a whole and sort of what you guys were talking about, the technical side, but also how integral that people management side is. And you have both talked about this a little bit, but maybe we can talk a little bit more about what you're passionate about specifically in your career and how grad studies has facilitated that, or how your graduate degree helped you find that.
Interesting. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So so you want to know what I am doing in my job, right? First?
Yeah, I think that would be a good place to start. Maybe you can talk about what you're passionate about in your career, and maybe if grad studies has helped sort of facilitate that, or we can chat about the industry as a whole and keep going off about what you guys were chatting about before as well.
Yeah, sure. So definitely I mean, having a graduate degree give you a different age, because in undergrad you are taught to learn stuff. I mean, you are taught to know stuffs, right? And that kinds of shape your mind. When you come to graduate school, it shapes your mind in a different way. Like it's more open, more vast. It kind of broadens your outlook, and it gives you the independence to pick courses based on your preference. But in undergrad, you have a kind of a limitation to pick courses which you like, because that's more of a specialization. And yes, graduate degree is more of a specialization as well. But when you come from a industrial background, you kind of know that what kind of specialization or what kind of knowledge you want to go for. So you have that freedom in grad study. I particularly work in reliability engineering and in process improvement. Currently, I am working with predictive maintenance in operations. All the big companies, all the big refineries or factories are working towards Industry 4.0. And predictive maintenance is a very big part of that. So while working in predictive maintenance, I found that some of the stuff that I learned, suppose I took multi-criteria with Dr. Abbas Milani back in UBCO, and I didn't know how to use that and when I would use that knowledge, right? I was wondering why I am learning this. But when I started working with predictive maintenance, it slowly came to me that, okay, that's why I have to use statistics to make decision based on this data or this situation. So this kind of thing you will slowly understand in your professional journey, that how those knowledge that you learn through your degree kind of becomes helpful in future. So I think, yeah, then, sorry, I lost my track. What was the question again?
I was just talking about how grad studies facilitated your passions within your career, which I think you covered, and then just talking about the industry as a whole, which we've been talking about. So maybe I'll let Ian respond. I think that was a great answer, though.
Yeah, it really was. So let's start with my passions, right? So currently I'm lucky enough to have a job in a team that's pretty close to what my passion is, right? New technology, bringing sort of the cutting edge into operation in our network. And when it came time 9 years ago, wow, okay, 9 years ago to pursue something, I knew that I had gaps like we outlined, right? And if I'm going to do that thing that I'm passionate about, so what is the new technology? Like what's coming in 10 years? And what do I need to know about to be able to execute on that? I had to ruminate about that to finally pick grad school. And I didn't answer this before, but I live in Kelowna, so that's why I picked UBC. So I eventually came to that conclusion because one, wireless back in 3G time, a long time ago in the Stone Ages, that looked like a threat to the wireline network, which I was part of. You could barely get TV working on the telephone network. And the question really was like, what is this thing actually capable of? And that required at least some research on my part, picking some courses, finding some experts to really learn about like what really is the true art of the possible, pushing past that envelope of the undergrad level where you're like, I kind of know how it works, but really get closer to that cutting edge of capability and then use that to inform the kind of career choices. And the same thing on the project management side, right? Like you're in the engineering planning side of a company, come up with a bunch of brilliant ideas, but somebody's actually got to do it. Like it's wonderful to have a great idea, but if it doesn't turn into a project or a product, it doesn't get any value for the company. And I was just listening to a talk and they described engineering in a really neat way. It was about Tesla and batteries. And the man said, the job of an engineer is to take technology and turn it into value. And I was like, yeah, it really is. Right? In science and peer research, that comes before, but if you're employed at a company, take that really cool idea, turn it into something that generates value and revenue. So taking a graduate degree helped me do that and learn how to build teams to do that.
That's amazing. I think that that's an amazing answer. And thank you both for your insight. And so what I'm interested in is sort of what you wish, going back in time, what you both wish you knew when you started your graduate degree.
I can jump on that because I have a couple thoughts, and it's going to come back to this people and leadership thing. And so going into school, there's probably 2 points. Is one, that you have a lot more control over your destiny than you usually think when you're earlier on in your career. So you can pretty much manifest anything you want as long as you have enough luck. So there's that, right? Like take real control, have real thought about what you want it to be like, what you want to do, who you want to work with, because you might be able to make some of those things happen. And then the other part is kind of related to that school is a social relationship-based endeavor. So while you're there and you're gonna learn some really cool things, and you have some homework and some projects, it's also a lot about the people you work with, the people you work for, the sort of back and forth and battlement of ideas. So while you can have your own space in your own head, like it's way more about, like, I just didn't appreciate this as much about the other people and what their ideas are and what they're interested in, because that's the fruit of inspiration.
Yeah, that's a great insight, actually. I actually echo with Ian. And for me, if I had to go back, I would definitely, because when I was in grad school, I already talked about it. I had like some of the stuffs I knew that I want to go for, I need this knowledge, and some of the stuffs which I had to pick because of my degree or because of my program, I didn't know, and I still don't know how should I use that, right? So there are two parts, and I think if we had, or if I had like more insights or more, it's more like this ambiguity, right? If I can have more clarity on that ambiguity, that what will be this, what I will do with this knowledge, or how I can use this knowledge in practice. So if I could have that insight, that would be very, very good for me. For example, like I talked about multi-criteria, I talked about a little bit on data analysis. Then I took few other courses which I had to take, but I did not quite understand the horizon of it. And I knew that because I knew for a fact that I would be going into operations after graduation. If I had worked more, like on the background of it, like why people learn this course, what's the application of this course, then I would have utilized every chapters or all the stuffs that our profs covered, right? I can relate more. So I think if I had to go back and study some of the courses, I would try to connect it, connect the knowledge with more of the practical bits or to the applications, which I mean, at currently or in future, I can take along with.
Yeah, I think that those are both really good points. And sort of the last thing that I wanted to talk about was that transition from graduate student life to professional life, and especially as an engineer, how you went about fostering career growth or special steps that you might have taken.
I feel like I'm gonna reuse some advice I gave to one of my team members. So here's a shot at it. So how did I transition? Well, for me, it was not that difficult because I actually did a part-time master's and worked full-time, which was difficult. But it meant that I was in stream the whole time. And then when I finished, I was able to sort of put some of that to work. It's having a graduate degree is really interesting because you have some things where you're like, this is a great idea, can use right now. But then it also stands as a accomplishment thing. I can take on something really hard and get it done, which is also really helpful, especially later on when people are like, show me something you've done that's really hard. And you have those things in your resume. But one of the other maybe takeaways, thoughts is like, when you're done a degree, like I was saying, like your career is your own creation a bit. So when you were doing your grad studies, you have found this topic or you did your project, your thesis in this technology. If you're passionate enough about it, companies and people will form around you. So you can take an idea and go to a manager, a director, a VP and say, we have to do this. It's going to be great for our company. And that passion will actually frame around it. And you might, if it's good enough or you pitch it well enough, they'll actually say, okay, how many people do you need? Right? It's not so much like, I'm hoping I get to do this. It'll actually form around you. What resource do you need? How much money do you need? Just go, do it. So there's that part that I would say that's really important is if there's something that you've done that has that kernel of passion, like make sure that you put it to application and keep rallying behind it because stuff will form around you.
Yeah. So for me, like having an engineering degree, so in grad school, your mind is shaped in a different way. Like I already talked about it. And especially, I think that every institution or every organization have its unique culture. And I believe that the goal of an institution is to make its students or its alumni to dream, right? Every culture, every institution has its own way to teach its alumni how to dream or students how to dream. So UBCO has its own way. And I found that for me, it was breaking the boundaries. Like I really learned a lot. Apart from the technical bits, I had the opportunity to work on my software skills as well. Like I learned a lot on the cultural intelligence. Like UBCO is a very close-knit community. very diversified, which is a beautiful thing. And since it's very diversified, you kind of know from different cultures. You have to work with people from different backgrounds. So yes, so there you get to learn how to navigate through ambiguous relationships. So that's one thing that I picked. And then the other thing that you learn in grad school is resilience. So because you have to work on projects, there are different courses, there are different setbacks, and it's not easy because you don't have any cheat sheet that you do this and that and you pass. You have to work your way around uh, to succeed, right? So uh, so every time you can kind of overcome a setback, you gain new energy to go for another one. Every courses, every quiz, everything in grad school. So the part of me, I mean, part of this, part of my journey was about resilience, because coming back from work after almost 6 years and going through these courses was bit difficult for me at the beginning. So there I learned resilience, and working in different projects with different students with diversified backgrounds helped me to work on the cultural intelligence. So and these two things actually helped me grow more in work. Like whenever you work in a diversified environment with people from different backgrounds, it gives you a different perspective of your journey. So in work it helps. And also the resilience bit, I think Ian knows more than me, like how resilience is important working in management or working in projects, because you have a certain deadline and you have to reach there, and there will be setbacks and you have to overcome setback one after another to reach there. And it's up to you, since you are the leader, it's up to you how you lead your team throughout the journey. And grad school kind of unknowingly teach you that through project, through research, working in the lab with different partners. Unknowingly you learn that. And I did not quite understand what I learned in grad school. Since I come out of the grad school after my graduation, as I started working again, I kind of related that, okay, this is the experience that I had when I had this mark or this grade in that course. So all of the things are kind of interrelated. And since you kind of have that unique experience in grad school, it helps you in your career as well, because career is also a journey of setbacks or success. And yeah, since you also you had the similar experience in a different horizon, it helps you, I would not say, yeah, definitely foster your career, but fostering your career is more about how you take the learning from grad school and your work and use it in a unified way. So but overall it's the same game.
I love that. I love how that you frame that idea, because I just find, even though I'm nodding a bit, I'm nodding a lot on the inside, because it really is, and that's what I meant by this is social, is like the same skills, the same lessons, the same things that are going to propel you to success, work in academia or in the industry, right? And I wish I could go back and tell myself that, because I love what I did, but I could have picked even better things or made slightly different choices, realizing that it's the same. It's all the same. Like your passion or your interest and like your engagements with different people on that will drive you forward.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. And Khairul, maybe you can talk a little bit about how that led you to wanting to pursue an MBA. And Ian, maybe you have things to add here about what you're doing currently as well. And maybe we can end it on what you guys are up to now.
Cool. Do you want to answer the MBA question first, Carol?
Oh, yeah, sure. So the reason for going for MBA was all about like when I want to go for my MBA rather than why I wanted to have my MBA. I talked about the financial bit definitely, because MBA is a huge investment, both financially and also professionally, and also personally, right? Because I have a family, I have to give time to my family, I have to give time definitely to my work because it's a full-time work, and then I have to invest my rest of the time to MBA, and it's a draining experience. But the reason for going for MBA was all about, I talked about ambiguity a lot. And I believe that as an engineer, it's more important for me to go out of the technical box and look for the bigger picture, look into the bigger picture. And I found that when we work in the technical project, it becomes very difficult for us to look at the birds, look into the bird's view, right? We don't really think about, I would not say don't really, sometimes we do not think about the stakeholders related to the project, right? Suppose, what's the benefit of finance? If I make this product, what's the benefit of marketing? How the marketing will be benefited towards that? So there are ambiguities involved, and it's not about only engineers. I think the people who work in other functions as well face the same problem, but MBA kinds of give you that window to look into, I mean, look through, like you look through that window and you have some bit of perspective that why you are doing this. So this is the why I was looking for, and that's the reason I wanted to have my MBA, to navigate through ambiguity. And I think that as everyone will go up into the corporate ladder at some point, if everyone works hard. So as you go up, your functional experience becomes little narrow. Like you learn on the technical side little less, but the leadership horizon becomes more. Like you have to work on the leadership, because you will be running or leading bigger team, you have to work with people more. So you have to think about the emotional intelligence that you have in you, then the mindfulness. I also talked about the cultural intelligence. There are many aspects of leadership, right? How you can shape yourself. And I found that apart from the ambiguity on the personal side, I maybe need to shape my mind in that way so that I can be a people person, not just a machine person or just a project person. So that's why I wanted to have that window through which I can look into that, okay, these are my area of improvement, and that's how I want to learn, or that's how I want to improve myself. So that's the whole decision for me to go for my MBA.
Awesome. Yeah, that's interesting. I've often thought about it myself, and it seems like something like that aspect you talk about, like the different intelligences and how you acquire them. Like you get a technical intelligence on the MESC or the MEng side, and the MBA gives you this way to get exposure to all those other avenues, especially if you don't immediately have them, right? You don't have access to exposure to the leadership teams of companies or the marketing departments. So yeah, you got to get it one way or another if you want to get into the realm of people leadership, for sure. And that's kind of to talk about my own state where I am right now. I mentioned that we're bringing new technologies and chart the kind of roadmap how to bring them in, but the part that maybe is underappreciated is like, yeah, you have the technical parts. Does it run on fiber optics? What kind of frequency bands does it run on? What's the capacity requirements? Like all these technical criteria. But there's a flip side. It obviously costs money to put in, and you're hoping to make some money from it. So you have to talk with the marketing department. Like, what do you hope to sell on this thing that I would love to put in? How many customers are we going to get? How fast are we going to get those customers? The revenue we hope to get from it, will it pay for the upgrades or the licenses? Or so you have like your technical requirements, and then you end up having to build a business case, and you have to communicate it out to set corporate strategy. Or if you're in a little company, just decide together like, yes, we're going to put all our time and energy here and not here. And that's conversational. It's more accounting and business side, but it ends up linking to the engineering, especially if you want to get into more of the strategic engineering. You end up doing kind of both. You're a person of two minds. So that's kind of what I do right now, is live in a few different worlds and try to put together programs that enable technology.
And Ian, because you came out of that technical background, and maybe like Khairul, you didn't have an MBA. How did you navigate that coming out of a technical degree, and were there any hard points in kind of getting to the project management leadership area that you are now?
Life would be fun if you didn't fall on your face sometimes. So yes, that definitely happened. And it was like it's very hard when you have a technical background and you're not as exposed to the business rationale. And even the languages they speak, because they kind of speak a different language than people are hardcore tech. And just appreciating it. Like when they don't understand why the idea is such a great idea, it's not necessarily that the idea is bad. It's that you're not speaking the same language, or it's not the right time for them, budget or whatever the mechanism might be to them accepting it. It's up to you. Like, yeah, you just have to appreciate, and that's part of the softening and the learning is they're in another domain, not your domain, and what do they need? It's not about you, it's about them.
And so are you finding with the work that you did that helped you build up that personal business side to accompany the technical skills that you had?
Yeah, so maybe a filler in the middle is when I graduated, I was pulled into a special project where you've probably seen the ads now. TELUS has this network called Pure Fiber. I was pulled into the project that enabled much of that. And like that was a very intense, required a lot of grit type of project. And it allowed me to learn the ins and outs of that to a level where some people wanted me to be a people leader. So it was the hard road instead of the educational road. But I think the end result kind of gets you to the same place. So you have to learn those things one way or another.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys for both sharing your sage wisdom. And I am not an engineer, but I feel like I have learned something today. So thank you both. And yeah, I was planning to wrap up. If you guys have any last pieces of advice, I would love to hear it. And thank you guys for your time and for attending.
It's my pleasure. I'll think about advice, but any last questions or thoughts, Khairul?
No, it was a great discussion. And I think not advice, one suggestions to the engineering students, what I would like to give is, because I know that because in graduate study, there is one MASC part and then one MH part. And to some bit, most of the students are involved in research, and research can be a very, dreadful experience, right? You have to spend a lot of time in lab, and while doing so, you become a person of lab. Day in, day out, you are going into the lab, you are working with machines. But as Ian kind of highlighted, and I also kind of touched on that your graduate school is a beautiful place to hang out with people, not hang out, work with different kinds of people from different backgrounds and learn new stuff from them. So it's a great opportunity to become a people person as well. So I would say that sometimes it's very important for them to go and involve themselves in extracurricular activities. I know that UBCO has different clubs. I was a part of a club, and I think it's a very meaningful experience to go and out of your research and course stuffs, involve yourself in those activities, and it will help you in the long run. You will grow different skills in terms of software skills along with your technical skills, which you will appreciate in the future. So yeah.
Huh, cool. So that makes me want to share, it's less to do with the masters, but it applies. Is my favorite saying for modern times is preserve serendipity. And that plays with education or your work or anything. So I'll give you like a thought about like how people sometimes work where I work. So they'll max themselves out on a project, 110%, completely absorbed in the one thing. And while they execute it fine, maybe ahead of time, they're not branching out into the other lanes of business. They're just too narrow. And they miss the opportunity to learn something new, something serendipitous. And it's funny what will happen randomly, like it's serendipity. So it's this occasional meeting of two people or finding out about something that's not working or that's working. And in my experience, you catch yourself like, yeah, I'm almost in this project and it's working overtime. And you run into somebody at the lunchroom and they say like, yeah, we don't need it anymore. Right? And had you not taken a break at that time, you wouldn't have found out about some very big change or new constraint or new client or new use case. So it's like what Khairul was saying, like a club will do that for you. You get a different avenue, different people, different ideas, but also bring that into your workday or your research, whatever it is. When we're all apart, it's hard, but you need some time to discover something that you never would have found out any other way, because it will be explosive when you find it out.
That's a really good point. What clubs were you guys a part of?
So I was part of Toastmasters actually through the masters and actually after, not a direct UBC thing, but big part of where I am today actually. Of them helping me craft how to speak, how to message, meeting some different people, because it was of all people from all walks of life, whether they were 75 and a beautiful speaker, to new engineering students, because they would show up there as well. But fantastic, like absolutely cannot say enough about that club and probably any other club.
Yeah, I was part of Association of Bangladeshi Students because I am from Bangladesh. I was the president of ABS, and we had lots of, Bangladeshi students in UBCO, like in undergrad and also in grad studies. And yeah, I agree with Ian actually, because even if most of our research students, they aspire to go into academia. But even if you are aiming for academia, you will need people skill. I think Dr. Shumi will agree with me as well. Like you absolutely need people skill, because whenever you will be working with companies for funding, you have to present, you have to negotiate. There are all those skills which you can learn in grad school, which you can learn in UBCO, especially when you will be working with student union to manage the funds for your club. You will get to know that experience. Right? This is just a small example, and definitely there are this internal politics that goes on in all those clubs in the exact team, which you will find when you will graduate and join an organization. The same politics is going on. So what I found that, because in undergrad I was a part of the debating society, and in debating society, yeah, we used to We used to organize different debating tournaments, and there was this little politics going on. But I left debating society after 1 year. But when I went into work, I found that my friends who stayed into the debating club for 4 years, they actually developed different attributes which were better than me. So then I regretted not continuing that journey. So that's the reason when I came to UBCO, I decided, okay, I will go for it. I will go for the presidency. I will push our students to mingle with different communities, different cultures, and I will see how it goes. But I will try to have the whole journey. So I'm really happy and really thankful that I had that experience, and it helped me. It will help everyone.
I think those are really great points, and it was great talking with both of you and hearing about your story and how you got to where you are today and your experiences in your graduate degree. So thank you guys both for coming and talking and being so open, and I really appreciate it, and I think that this went really well. So thank you. And